Hello everybody. Well, is it hotting up or what? Goodness me, every time you step out the door or look at the news, something else has happened. In this last news cycle, we had the question of whether Putin had engineered a way to stop Trump from appointing a Mitt Romney for Secretary of State and put in Tillerson, who was Russian friendly, as we know from his Exxon days doing deals with Russia. Maybe, who knows? Tillerson himself, of course, has been very quiet lately. With all this stuff on North Korea, haven't heard a syllable from the Secretary of State. So Tillerson's gone underground. He's in his own little bunker. But then we had the glorious side of Sam NUNBERG, how do you say it, raving, probably drunk, on any news outlet that would have him. So he went storming around saying there's no way he would comply with the subpoena from Mueller. He was too busy to be looking at all those emails from 2015. By the end of it, I think as more and more news programs had lawyers on the panel, he then backtracked and said, oh yes, I will comply. But he didn't want to spend 80 hours and paying a lawyer 80 hours to do it. So what is Mueller after with Sam NUNBERG's emails? We know he worked closely with Roger Stone. So as I understand it, back in 2015, the triad was NUNBERG, Stone and Bannon. And they were the ones steering Trump's agenda. And in fact, I just heard last night on CNN, I think it was that, it was NUNBERG and Stone who came up with the idea of the wall. Trump hadn't thought about it, wasn't interested, and they said, look, on Bannon's advice, it'll play really well with the base. Tell them you'll build a wall. So all the horror that the wall represents, all the money to be wasted on the wall, came from these two guys. But there's other, much more serious stuff at foot. So I'm going to read on NUNBERG and Stone together. So that'll be the first part. Sam NUNBERG, Roger Stone. I mean, just looking at that footage of NUNBERG, you know, another intellectual giant of the Trump campaign. Remember, he said, I only employ the best. Well, we have Carter Page, we have George Papadopoulos, we have his ineffectual son-in-law. Oh, the list goes on. Okay. Well, let's see. NUNBERG and Stone. First card up, the Emperor, Trump. Oh, what's going to happen in this reading? So, all right, let's look at the first three cards. We have Trump bang in the middle. So this is about how the testimony of NUNBERG and Stone will affect him and their email trails. Okay. So at the heart of the issue, the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man, we've talked about this card before. It can be things that are held up. It's also someone suspended by their beliefs in many ways, who trust in their beliefs. So the Emperor, in relation to these two men, trusted their beliefs and went with it. Crossing that and affecting that, the Ten of Swords. Well, before I pull any more cards, you would have to say the story is that their relationship with the Emperor is going to come back and stab them in the back. Trump in particular, because he's the centre of this reading. All right, underneath we have the Four of Cups. Now the Four of Cups, if you can see that figure, being made an offer but isn't happy with the offer. Excuse me. I think this card is not mysterious in the sense that nobody wants to open their emails or open their door and find out that Mullah wants everything they've got. How intimidating would that be? But that's his job, right? It's also a figure re-evaluating where they stand on their own issues and value system. And given that these guys are so shallow and so greedy, it wouldn't take much to rock their world. They don't have deep-rooted ideas of loyalty to the Trumps. So even though Trump would probably class Roger Stone as, until at least recently, very close, no one is immune from this system of subpoenas. No one. Okay, so recent past. Quid pro quo. I'll do something for you, you do something for me. It's the ultimate card of transactions, in a way. They were also condescending, like that story I just said about the wall. It was very condescending to the base, but it worked. So there's an element of condescension and giving pennies to the poor. But at the end of the day, it's about wanting something from them. And that's what they got from them. They got their votes. So that was that transaction. That is very clear. On top of this reading, the legal system, the Hierophant, the system of law, but it's also, I think, beginning to play out. This represents the party Republicans. So, if we think about Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, they were prepared to roll over for Trump with everything he's done so far, including the tax cuts that aren't tax cuts. You know, they're just a giveaway to the wealthy. They were prepared to run up $1.5 trillion in debt, which goes against everything the Republicans traditionally represented, the party of fiscal responsibility. They rolled with the sexual stuff and didn't make a fuss. They rolled with the race stuff and didn't make a fuss. And now with the tariffs, I think it's a bridge too far for them, and they are starting to speak up. So I think the Hierophant, directly on top of the Emperor's head, also represents the Republicans, old school Republicans. Coming up shortly, oh really? Judgment. How timely is that? So there's no escaping this. This is going to come down heavily on their collective asses. Right. Judgment. Oh my God. How do they see themselves? Well, after NUNBERG's drunken performance, I'm sure Roger Stone is lying low too. NUNBERG's going to presumably go quiet because any lawyer would tell him to shut the fuck up, man. You are just digging a grave for yourself. So they're lying there with the swords poised over them. Acting on that, concern about money and money changing hands and how to hold on to money. It can also indicate a move between cities. The Pentacles in this case too, it's always about the money with anything to do with Trump, But this figure is holding on and could represent holding on to information as well. What is the atmosphere around this reading and around this topic of NUNBERG, Stone and Trump? Death. Death to the king. The king's being trampled underfoot by these guys. Mr. Loyalty, who gives nobody loyalty, is finding, to his amazement, other people aren't loyal. Oh my God. He's talking, NUNBERG's talking, we know that. But this is a slightly more gifted, more thinking person, so I would suggest this is Stone. Stone now realises after the last 2 days, because of NUNBERG, he can no longer go under the radar, and I don't think he was under the radar. There's no way Muller wasn't already looking for him. Okay, so before I pull the last couple of cards, just a little thing. This opens another whole can of worms for the Trump campaign. We know there's been money laundering and money changing hands and deals and scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. That's one strand of the Mueller investigation. You've got the obstruction of justice stuff, which is, you know, firing Comey and so forth. And I think this is starting to get very murky, but I think Mueller's going to keep those aces a bit further down the track. I think this is more likely to be about the hacked emails, because when, let me get this right in my head, this timeline. Apparently, what happened was with WikiLeaks agreeing to hack, either being asked to hack the emails or WikiLeaks hacking the emails themselves and going to sell them to the Trump campaign. That was a turning point. And by accepting that, the big question Mueller will be asking is, when did Trump know about the hacked emails? And remember, right back in the campaign, and he went out and he said, I'm going to give this great speech tomorrow telling you all about things. I love Russians, you know, I'm going to tell you all about Hillary's dirty dealings tomorrow. And then he never delivered that next speech. He fed it out in tweets and things later. But that was him running off at the mouth. And the timeline is such, he had to have known about the leaked emails. And so I think why Mueller's digging into Stone and NUNBERG, don't forget we're talking about way before the 2016 stuff and into the 16 stuff. When did he know? And these guys had emails. Plus Bannon had emails with Trump. And so I think that's where it's going myself. Okay, so back to the reading. Hermit. Now we've got figures here. We've got the Hanged Man just going, oh my God, I better not do anything. We've got the card of retreat. We've got the Hermit, retreat. They're retreating, but it's too late. Conflict. You better believe it. Imagine the conflict that's going on. I mean, Roger Stone must be beside himself, considering how involved he was in all this mucky stuff. He's skated through it until now. Now you've got this massive conflict. There's also conflict with Trump. You've got conflict with the Hierophant, with the legal system. Right? You've got conflict with each other. Where are the messages buried? Where is the money buried? So, conflict. Let there be more conflict. May they never sleep again, is what I would say about that. Lordy, lordy. Okay, so I'm now going to finish with another little mini reading. I think on Ryan and McCONNELL, and again I'm going to read on them together because basically they're both so boring they don't deserve individual readings, and they also act together in their various roles, you know. So give me a moment to shuffle the cards. Now, guys, thanks for the comments. You guys make such really good and astute comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you also to all those who have donated. I so appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it. And so I like to respond as much as I can to your comments whenever possible. And I try and respond to your suggestions for readings like this one as often as I can. Others I'm really interested in doing, but there's always another drama that takes place. So, back to this one. Bear with me. Just another, and we'll see what's going to happen with Paul Ryan and Mitch McCONNELL. Paul Ryan and Mitch McCONNELL. What's happening with those guys? Oh, they have to be worried. They've run the show between them for so long and it's falling apart. Paul Ryan and Mitch McCONNELL. Oh. Paul Ryan. Okay, their joint signifier. Money. Money makes the world go round. Money, money, money. Lots of money. Too much money. Family money. Everything you can think about money is in this card, the 10 of Pentacles. Also intergenerational money. So, I'm not sure at this immediate juncture whether this is their money, because I'm sure these guys have, you know, hedge funds stuck away and things in their wives' names and all that stuff that the very rich do routinely. Or it's the Trump money. It often comes up as Trump money. So, Paul Ryan and Mitch McCONNELL. You saw me shuffle the cards. But they also get the Four of Cups. The figure sitting under the tree going, I really don't want to think about this. I don't want to deal with this. This is a nightmare. Why didn't I leave 6 months ago? That's what I get in relation to these guys. Right? Directly underneath the signifying card, the Devil. They are behaving in a devilish fashion. They are in league with the devil, who, and I now think it is the Trump thing. I don't mean immediately Paul Ryan and Trump and Mitch McCONNELL and Trump. Symbolically, they're in league with the devil. And financially, more and more stuff is coming out. If they had elected someone dreary like Ted Cruz or someone well-intentioned like Jeb Bush, who might not be the most inspired guy in the world, I think he's not too bad actually for a Republican, they wouldn't be dealing with this nightmare. But they got into bed with the devil, and now Republican money is going to be looked at. And we know there's irky-perky rivers of money that come into the Republican Party, not just by big business, but through the NRA and now through the Russians. They're in conflict. So it could be that they're conflicted about what to do next, which would make sense. They should be very conflicted. But in any event, they're not comfortable. They're not comfortable, and they've left it too long to resign. If they walk away now, it looks really weak and it looks really guilty. So their greed, money, kept them in, their egos kept them in, and now they are going to pay the price. I am so happy. All right. So just to sum up, I don't think we're going to see obstruction of justice charges coming out soon, but I think we're going to see other charges with weird titles like acting with corrupt intent, and it might even be emolument stuff. You know, the famous emolument clause that we'd never heard of until Trump got in, about Kushner and Trump making money from being in office. Something like that, the emails. I think what we're going to see is another step up in the game and another step closer to the impeccable orangutan. What can you say? Love you guys. Thumbs up. Thanks for your support. Bye.